Hello, and welcome back to Mission Apollo. Let's talk about 2023, guys. I think we all know where we did really well this year, where we could have done better, and I think between the three of us, we can cover a lot of ground here. So let's start with a bit of an open question, a bit of a broad question. Looking back on 2023, what is your one highlight and your one low light of the year? And Eloi, we can start with you.
One highlight. Well, I have to say the Apollo Pro, right? It would be weird if it's something else. That would be my highlight, the Apollo Pro, and obviously you touch on it, but the trip to China. First time for me going there. Deadly allergic to peanuts, so it was a big thing to get over. So yeah, going there and seeing just like I always knew the complexity of making a scooter, but seeing it with your own eyes instead of through a camera, you really makes you appreciate what we're doing even more, and meeting like face to face the people behind it that make it with us this whole time. It's feels like family that you see like once every 5 years. So it's like them, but they're so different in real life. So I would say the Pro, and it was a up and down roller coaster with the Pro. We launched it. The spec were like a bit under what the competition has for the same price, but we were trying to communicate that what we built is more than that, right? It's transcending spec. It's all about everything that is about that we know about the Pro. So, and then like that was a roller coaster that was going down, and then when the reviewers started getting it, and like you have Paul from ESG saying that this is the best scooter he ever saw in his life, that is going up, and it's confirming like why we made those choices, and then you have the Indiegogo campaign of people backing it. We made we sold for the equivalent of $1 million of a scooter just in pre-order. So it would be the Pro. Very, very proud of this, and the cherry on top, the red dot design. It's a big accomplishment for me and Yago, our designer. So that'll be highlight. The low lights. Where to start? It's
The Pro.
It would be probably the Phantom Recall, or just those scooters in general. It seems like we are pushing a boulder up the hill, and it's going like fairly well. It's going to go down, but behind us we're pulling such a big legacy of scooters, of things that we were selling before throughout the Phantom or the old City and the Pro and Light, the old lineup that was not our mold, but now we still need to support it. And people are still experiencing sometimes issues, and it's hard to get parts, or sometimes you need to do a full on recall about something. It's annoying, because you think about the scooter that we're going to launch next year, this year, in 2 years, and you have all figured out, but you still have to take care of what's from the past. So I'd say the low light, the recall of the Phantom for a third time.
Yeah,
what about
I think
you?
just to go back to your Pro point, I think a lot of our customers and followers sort of see the product and they're like, oh, the Pro is the Pro, right? But for us, it's almost like it feels like launching the product is like the tip of the iceberg, and then 80% of the work is the stuff that happens before launch, right? So whether it's the 3 years of prototypes or the beta test, that was the only project of its kind, and we talk about the beta program like many times, right? But again, super cool to actually have over 100 riders get to meet you, get to meet the larger team. Their feedback, as we now have gone to China the second time, made a real difference. The things that people complained about from the early production versions are now fixed and are going to be improved for the final production. So it's again, it's unique, and it was a difficult business choice, I think, for us to miss the season. But in retrospect, 100% worth it, because we're delivering the most refined product we ever have, basically, right? So that's totally exciting.
Something I was thinking about for the beta that is interesting is that imagine we would not have done the beta and just launch a product. Then, okay, you collect the feedback like we always do, but to change the feedback, to change the mold, it requires a lot of energy from us and from the factory, to agree on all those change. Compared to doing the beta now, we were in the mindset of collecting the feedback and be ready to change the mold. So yeah, I believe we saved not just one production by doing it, but multiple ones. And that's why we have a list of 50 points.
Yeah, and you give the customers a much better experience by doing the beta program, right? Like the amount of small things that come out of the beta program that we're able to make so much better, like even small things like fold a little latch to clip in the thing. Like when someone buys a $4,000 scooter now and they're actually part of the first wave, you're giving them the experience it is like the actual polo experience, right? Which that for me just makes me so pumped, and it's just so nice. So yes, it takes a bit more time and it's a lot more work, but it just makes the actual launch so much better afterwards.
Totally. What about you, Chris? Yeah. What would be your highlight and low light?
Highlight is spending more time with you guys. That's always the biggest one. No, the biggest one was I think this year was
well, too quick there
too soon. The biggest one was it's tough. There were so many highlights. I think it revolves around a theme of product validation is the biggest one, which is like product validation when we launched our micromobility conference. Product validation when we released it to Best Buy. Product validation is even scooter hats and seeing the sales that are coming out of it. It's fantastic, and it's so like empowering, and so it just motivates me so much to see our products being put in the right place and just exceeding expectations, which is really cool. So I think there's a lot of highlights this year, but for me, it really is like just expansions to different distribution channels, seeing it work really well, and just saying like, okay, what's next? What's the next? There's an endless wave of possibilities outside of it. And that comes through just incredible products and then everything else. So that was my highlight for sure. Really just the product and seeing how incredible it is and how customers are loving it. Low lights. The low light is more just, it's a tougher economy this year. I think everyone knows that, right? It's like, it's been hard just to compete, or like not to compete, but just to put getting our scooters in the right places and really showing the true potential of it. Like if we launched a Pro, which still did $1 million plus in sales, which is fantastic. If we had launched it a year ago, 2 years ago, when it was a better economy, we would have seen the true potential of it. And with that comes just a lot more sort of limitations in terms of opportunities of distribution. Like a lot of distributors are on just cutting down the capital and not taking any risks, and that allows us not to be in as many countries, for example. I think that's my low light. It's just something we can't really control, but just unfortunately a bit more of a tougher economy. What about you, Match?
I don't know. It's a tricky question, right? Because I think it's easy to just say, well, the few things that went well are the highlights. The few things that didn't go well are the lowlights. But I'm almost trying to think it like, looking at it in the 4 years that we've been at it for, have we really done something different this year? And I think it's a bit of a weird year because, to your point, the financial results aren't there this year, unlike let's say last year. But it really feels like we've done a lot of things right this year. So it's kind of backwards in that sense where, before we were just like, let's go, let's sell these scooters, let's work with these suppliers that, we now know maybe didn't live up to our expectations or standards. And yet we were like selling more than ever. And this year it feels like we made all the right decisions. We've gone through the beta program with the Pro. We've recalled the Phantom, which was ultimately in the best interest of our customers. We're taking our launches super slow. We've like gone through the summer with good CX support as well. Yes, there were a few issues with parts and scooter availability, but overall it feels to me like we're kind of in the middle of that cleanup that Eloi was explaining. That weight that we're pulling behind us is finally almost like diminished entirety, and soon it will all be gone once we stop selling all the legacy products that we currently have, and we're just about to start running downhill on the other side. But before we do that, we need to make it through winter. We need to launch the Go. We need to launch all the other products that we still have in the works. So I think we're in the middle of it right now, and we just need to kind of hunker down and make sure that we get through it. But to give you a bit more of a specific answer in terms of a highlight, for me it was China. Like by far, going to China for the first time since the pandemic, seeing that our team in Canada isn't, and the US and Spain for Iago isn't the only team that exists for Apollo, and actually we have an army of people that are not just deep believers in Apollo, but honestly like advocates, and they sometimes it feels like believe in what we do more than we do. Like they're really in it day in day out. They're fixing all these issues on the ground. It's inspiring and humbling to see how hard people work for us and for our success. So definitely seeing China was the highlight. And then the low light, I would say, I think it was probably the Phantom recall as well. Just it hurt because it feels like we've always done the right thing. When we identify an issue, we rush to find the solution and get the parts to our customers and inform them And that's just the reality of our industry. Like you look at any major scooter manufacturer, they all have gone through some sort of a quality of life or hardware issue, and it just sort of feels like, despite our efforts to try and do the right thing, we almost always seem to get the brunt of it. Like our customers just don't seem to appreciate it, and especially like the public and the community, and the Reddits and the Facebooks. Like it was really harsh. I think the response to some of the things that we did to best serve our customers. So I guess I was a little disappointed with that, because to me it felt like we've always done the hard thing to look out for our customers and protect them, and instead we sort of just got like a bit of a backlash. So that didn't feel great, I guess.
And
in retrospect,
that, it's like, I agree. And the hard thing is, and a lot of people don't see this, but even our failure rates due to the Phantom recall, for example, were so much lower than so many other competitors that we've seen on the market, and they haven't done that, and they don't go through that. So us doing the right thing almost gets you bans even more, and people just don't see that. So like, yes, we're doing the right thing, and it's, again, at the end of the day, would we do it differently? No, definitely not. I think we did the right call, but seeing other people just not seeing the realities of these companies, and they just keep on doing it or keep on pushing it under the rug, that's what's the most tough. And again, I think we try to share every part of that experience with the customers and everything through video calls and podcasts and everything else, but they still didn't really seem to understand, which is like, again, we're human. We're really, really trying to help and make sure we fully acknowledge this, and here's the parts, and here's what we're going to do, and it just isn't good enough sometimes. So yeah, I agree. It's a tough one mentally.
Yeah, so I think a lot of pressure on the team this year, and the holidays are always a good time to recharge, restart, and kind of come back fresh next year. And I think it's going to be a good 2024. I know that the macro isn't necessarily any better than it was last year, but it feels like we are in a better position than we were in last year. So that's something to keep in mind. So guys, before we move on to 2024, what's one lesson that you're taking away from 2023?
Could be anything, right? Product, it could be distribution, it could be anything, I guess.
For me,
Yeah,
I think it's or go ahead, Chris. Sorry, you were.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say that the Pro is the first product that we delivered that it's really, well, the City too, but the Pro, it's like every little part was crafted by us, right? And we mentioned it multiple times, worked on that for 2.5 years, almost 3 years now. Almost since we started, at Apollo. And the funny thing that happened to me this year is that once we delivered it, it's like finalized and all ready to be in production. Like, yeah, it's fantastic to go in China and everything, but you realize, okay, like what's next? Like you just cross the finish line, and you're like, damn, okay, I actually was looking this whole time at like the finish line when I was like just enjoying running, in it. So really appreciating the journey more than the end line, the result is what I'm gonna try to carry with me in the following years, and that's what it's fun. It's figuring out all the issues when you're trying to make like a new scooters or just a new product, and then the production. Yeah, it's a reward, but yeah, it's just the day-to-day, like a struggle to try to make something impossible. For some reason, that's what is nice about the job. So keeping that in mind while making the Apollo Go and all the new models, it's going to be critical to my happiness.
What about you, Mitch?
Very wise, Eloi. I think for me, it was just about not losing sight of fundamentals. I think we have a tendency to, like, one of the painful lessons, I guess, of our success in the first few years is just that it was very, very difficult to maintain focus. And I think we got really hungry and really ambitious really fast, sometimes without necessarily understanding the requirements of the decisions we're making. And I think all of it caught up to us in the last 12 to 18 months. So just kind of realizing that for every new product that we launch, there needs to be the scaffolding that will hold it in place and support it for the years to come. And then kind of taking a step back from the products we launched and really thinking about, well, how do they evolve over 3 years, 4 years of the product life cycle, you know, and how does that fit into the bigger, I guess, customer question of what customers need. And, you know, what about our, like, I think we were confronted with reality in a bit of a painful way. And it was a good lesson because we have a much more accurate and calibrated outlook today. Like, I think we make better decisions than we did a year ago. We're less naive and much more realistic. Not negative, just realistic. So I'm kind of happy with the moderation that we encountered this year. Yeah, you, Chris?
It's lessons learned, is it? The biggest lesson learned? I think the biggest lesson learned is really the power of testing. The power of testing small before going big, and really just like prototyping. No matter how eager we are to go into a new distribution channel like Best Buy or whatever, it's always really good to do a small test before and limit your limitations or sort of exposure. So we did a small test with Best Buy Canada. That went well, and we understood what we could do better, whether it be like making nicer boxes, etc. And then we launched on a much bigger scale with Best Buy USA. And now, you know, even though it was annoying to have to wait all that time and do it, it was a really big learning. And then similar to like the Pro Beta, you know, of course we wanted to launch the Pro last year, but you know, the beta took an extra 6-7 months. We missed the season, etc. But it's setting it up for success. So because we're always really fast at everything. We pivot very quickly. You know, and it contributes a lot to our success as a company. But now we're getting bigger and bigger that we can't make these decisions quickly, and we have to take time. And some things you just can't take any shortcuts. So that's it. I think there's a lot of really cool things coming in 2024, and we're going to shift to that. But it's just saying, like, right now we're laying the groundwork. We're not taking shortcuts. We're doing everything right on a compliance standpoint, on a testing standpoint, on a distribution standpoint, and it's just going to take time. So I think that was the biggest lesson for me.
Cool. Yeah. Thanks. Okay, guys. So before we wrap it up, let's maybe share one thing for 2024 that we're excited about and shotgun to go.
I was gonna say it's the same for all of us.
Yeah. No. Well, yeah. I think there's a lot to be excited about, right? Like Indigo sort of becoming available for the first time in the history of Apollo. We're not going to launch a product at the end of the summer. We're actually most likely going to launch it before the season starts.
Most likely, maybe.
Most likely, possibly, hopefully, maybe going to launch it before the season starts. We're on track to launch it before the season. And yeah, I mean, for all the reasons that Eloi mentioned in the V1, V2 walkthroughs, it's a killer. Chris, on the distribution front, obviously a lot of action next year, right, in the works. So I think that's going to be an interesting development for us too, kind of pivoting away from just fully relying on D2C sales and towards more kind of a, I guess, like a mature brand in that sense, where we have a presence across different channels. And then even on the servicing front, you know, Nadim's not here, but he could probably speak to it a bit more. Just some of the deals that we're working on for more repair centers in more cities, so that we're closer to our customers and continue to serve them better. So a lot of focus on fundamentals, but doing them really, really well. I think sums it up.
With the right product as well, which is where the go is.
Yeah, the go. Let's go. Yeah. Anything else to add, guys? Thank you for sharing everything so far.
No, I just want to, for me, the last thing is just thank you to all the loyal fans who keep watching us and keep supporting us. And like every iteration of Eloi's, pro videos, it's ridiculous how many comments we get, how much feedback we get, how much engagement we get. And it's like that's what motivates us to come to work every day and do what we do here at Apollo. And like all the super fans who are texting us every day and like giving us all these product ideas, it's like there's nothing more empowering. So huge thank you to everyone for this whole year, for any feedback, whether it's positive or negative. That's what helps us improve. And can't wait for 2024 and to get all that feedback and see the reactions of people when we deliver on these big products like the Pro and the Go.
Yeah, there's nothing else to say about it. No, I think 2024. Super excited because everything you mentioned, Natch, and everything you mentioned, Chris, like the result of all those feedback, the result of like all the efforts of the past 4 years, it's going to be more now than just us selling it. People are going to experience it when they unbox it and when they write the product. It's going to feel like like finally a vehicle grade scooter from the start of the lineup, the Apollo Go, all the way to the end of the Apollo Pro. Everybody gets like a safe experience and like something that feels a lot more than just a scooter. It's like a very like a personal experience with your personal micromobility vehicle. It's gonna be it's gonna be fantastic. And as Chris mentioned, please keep those feedbacks coming for us and join the beta groups. That's how you can support Apollo the best, probably.
Thanks for listening.
Thanks, guys.
Bye, everyone. Bye.